The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. This week's second hour of the John Lebang Show is coming your way. Bringing you more sonic vibrations than the Who at a Deep Purple concert. Hey, Joe, when's the rock and roll guy going to be on? Shady, I just started the show, and you ruined my really cool intro. Well, the listeners would rather hear me anyways. Can you leave? We're on the air. Well, maybe you should get one of those cool signs that says, on the air. Well, that's not in our budget. You know, not much is ever in our budget. I'll be back for Cool or Uncool. Bye. Well, as I was saying before we were interrupted, welcome to the show. We have a fantastic hour awaiting you. In the second segment, we've got Rock and Roll Unraveled with Derek Shelmerdine. We're going to be going over some of the classic rockers and what they're doing right now, as well as some of the historical things that they were involved with. And after the half-hour break, myself, Shady, and Abu were interviewed by Jonathan Rios from 920 WON The Apple
in New York City.
And if that's not enough, later on we've got Cool or Uncool. But before we get to all that, ladies and gentlemen, we've been doing some special things, doing some prepping here at the John Lebang Show. And we're getting things ready to show some appreciation to the stations that put a lot of time into us. And with that being said, we're announcing our first ever Top 10 Banger Network stations. And it's us just giving a little kudos, a little credit to the stations that put the time into us. And so how we got to this is that we thought, hey, you know, there's a lot of stations really supporting us. So we were compelled to give them some support back, show them the love back. And we developed a system, a scoring system, to help us determine what stations were actually putting the effort in our show. And we judge these on a few things: how often they use their social media to promote the John Lebang Show, if they're promoting the show on their website, because to be honest, there were some stations, and still some stations, that don't have us in bold captions, that don't really promote us on their site. Then we got how many listeners we're getting on those stations. That gives some kudos to the stations that are bigger and allow the John Lebang Show to reach a greater audience. If the shows are starting on time or at all, of course we've had that issue. And finally, if they're playing the correct episodes. Because being syndicated, not all the stations are playing the show on the same day or at the same hour. So sometimes they're this time and that time, and we're all over. 1 week of John Lebang Show covers all 7 days of the week. You can catch hour number 1 almost every day of the week, as well as hour number 2. Depends on what station and what time. The schedule is available right there on our Facebook page, and our soon-to-be updated website. It'll be right there, so you can just click right on there. Make it real easy for you. Now, with all this calculating, all this stuff we were putting together, we wanted to as I said, show our appreciation. And at the end of the year, the reason we're doing this is at the end of the year, we're going to give the top 5 stations, they're going to receive a nice little package from us, nice little prize package. And so we're at the end of April, and I've taken this a little long as it is. Let's get to those stations because I'm sure they're eagerly awaiting to hear their name. In the number 10 spot is one of our brand new affiliates, Classic Rock Radio. First month with the John Lebang Show, and they've already made it to the top 10. At number 9, we have Identify Radio. Number 8, we've got Vulcan Sound Radio, also in the United Kingdom. Number 7, we've got Radio Vegas Rocks. They're out there in Las Vegas. Up at number 6, and actually tied for number 5, we have a tie here. We have IRN Radio in Tampa, Florida, and the 365 Radio Network in Canton, Ohio. Up at number 4, Code Zero Radio. That man, Bob, out there, he puts in a lot of time to promote the shows. He always gives us a nice promo for the show. Something witty, something fun. It gets people interested in coming to the show. And not only does he do that, but then he shows up at some other stations, shows up at the home station, and comes and listens in. He really supports the show. At number 3, 920 WON The Apple in New York. That's right. Jonathan Rios out there, and the station has done a great job of promoting the show. They just recently had us on for an interview, as you're going to hear later on in the second half hour. At the number 2 spot is 102.7 WSRN, also in New York. We're dominating the Big Apple, ladies and gentlemen. We're growing by leaps and bounds. And our number 1 affiliate for the month of April, Bubba Army Radio. And they accumulated an amazing score of 20,000 points. And that's based on all the criteria that I listed earlier. That's our top 10 affiliates for the month of April. And I wanted to give them a big round of applause. Please, if you haven't liked those stations, if you haven't gone to those stations, feel free to go to the John Lebang Show Facebook page, and they're all listed right there in our likes. You can go down there and just like all of them, like all of our affiliates, but at least make sure you're liking these people who have put a lot of time and effort into the broadcast. And at the end of the year, actually right around the end of November, we're going to be sending the top 5 stations this year a prized/gift package for all their hard work. And speaking of a gift package, we have a prize package for you, my listeners. Beginning this week, we're going to be giving away weekly prize packages to you. But you're going to have to start listening to both hours each and every week. Because you never know when we're going to announce what we're giving away and when we're giving away. And what you might have to do to win those prizes. This week, we're giving away a CD prize package. And it's a pretty cool one. First, you're getting the brand new Metallica CD. You're also getting the J. Lebang, the Ritz CD, and Tude Vox Rose latest CD. This prize package is worth about $40. And here's how you win, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to send us an email to jlebang@live.com. That's JLEBANG@live.com with the following information. 2 of the bands that are mentioned this hour, what was your favorite part of the show, and finally, what station you were listening to us on. Make sure to put in the subject line, Metallica CD giveaway. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Send that email off to us, and next week we'll announce the winner. Oh, hang on, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting a phone call here. I'm sorry for this. Hello, you're calling the John Lebang Show.
Don't you think that's a little too complicated for most people? Why don't you make it easy, like the first caller or something? People like it when it's easy.
Shady, it's not that complicated.
Says you.
Can I get back to my show now?
All right, John. Sorry about that. Bye.
All right, folks, we're going to take an early break here, and when we return, our brand new monthly segment, Rock and Roll Unraveled with Derek Shelmerdine.
Don't think about touching that dial.
That would be a mistake.
The John Lebang Show will be right back after this.
That's guaranteed, man. Like some good Thai stick.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man.
You feel smarter yet? Leroy, what are you doing?
I'm just looking through a new dating site, Uncle Shady.
Well, what's this one called?
TunaoftheSea.com, Uncle Shady.
Let me see that. The place to catch the fish of your dreams. That's not the only thing you're going to catch if you go out with these women.
Well, what do you mean, Uncle Shady?
I swear I have to explain everything to you.
Well, sometimes it helps, Uncle Shady.
Listen, Leroy, what's in the ocean? You've got crabs. Do you want to catch that?
Well, no, Uncle Shady.
Then you've got the octopuses. Those seem harmless until they get their tentacles on you, and those suckers won't let you go. And then you've got the sharks. They look nice, all sleek, but they're deadly. And sometimes those sharks turn into whales. And who wants to catch a whale? They're just full of blubber. So be careful, Leroy.
Oh, I will, Uncle Shady.
How much do they charge for this site?
It was free, Uncle Shady.
Leroy, you're not going to find any good woman on there. You might as well go to Slut List. That's free too.
But Slut List is for buying and selling, Uncle Shady. This is a dating site.
Same thing, Leroy.
I don't think so, Uncle Shady.
Well, let me explain it to you. First, you gotta look through their profile, right? That's like window shopping.
Oh, I see.
Then, if you meet one of these tuna fish women, it's gonna cost you money.
What do you mean, Uncle Shady?
Listen, you're gonna have to take her out to dinner. That's at least $30. And if she's a heifer or a lush, you could be looking at $50. Then you've got to do something.
Like what, Uncle Shady?
Well, like take her out to the movie or to a concert or something. Just don't take them to the zoo.
Why not to the zoo, Uncle Shady?
Because judging by some of these profiles, they might have family there. And you really don't want to be visiting family on the first date.
I don't understand, Uncle Shady.
Well, that's because you're stupid, Leroy. You'll understand when you just spent $40 or $50 trying to entertain the tuna fish girl. So now you're $100 into the evening. 3 hours of your life has gone by, and you've got to decide what to do after that.
Well, what does everybody else do, Uncle Shady?
Well, that depends, Leroy.
On what, Uncle Shady?
How well you did your job.
I don't understand, Uncle Shady.
God, I gotta explain that too. If you did your job, you got her drunk during dinner, and then you kept her drunk while you were entertaining her. So what is next is taking her home.
That's it, Uncle Shady?
Well, no. Depends on whose home you take her to.
And then what, Uncle Shady?
Oh, you'll find out. But whatever happens, you're out at least $100. So if you ask me, that's not a good investment.
Well, what do I do, Uncle Shady?
I feel bad for you, Leroy. Because if these are the best choices you have, you might want to start saving up for one of those sex robots. Now let me grab a beer before we start looking through the profiles. I hope I don't throw up.
Okay, Uncle Shady.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too.
And up next, we have a new monthly segment called Rock and Roll Unraveled with Derek Shelmerdine, author and good friend. Derek, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, John. It's great to be talking to you again, mate.
Thank you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Spain at the moment, in Marbella. It's very pleasant.
You wear me out hearing about how much you travel. You know, you make the Grateful Dead look like slackers.
I like to move around and try not to let people catch up with me.
So, you know, we have a lot to get to. Why don't we get started with The Who?
Okay, well, the idea is to look at what the Who were doing and other people back in the day, the 60s and 70s, and where we can actually see them now. And one of the first things that was interesting for the Who, back in 1964 on the 9th of April, they failed 2 auditions on the same day. First one was with the record label Fontana, but the guy, Chris Parmenter, didn't like the drummer. Good news for Keith Moon, because that meant that on this very day, 30th of April 1964, Keith Moon auditioned for the Who. What was a bit spooky was that great similarity between the Beatles and the Who's demise, because when the Beatles went for their first recording session, George Martin decided that Pete Best wasn't the drummer, and out he went, and in came Ringo Starr.
And it was good for us on both ends.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the Who would not have been the Who without Keith Moon. I think he was a real part of their sound. But one of the things that we never really got to experience, back on 26th of April 1971, Pete Townsend, the guitarist, abandoned his Lifehouse project. This was a major rock opera, basically, to follow upon the Tommy rock opera. But it got abandoned. What it was the story of a sort of post-apocalyptic, polluted, mind-controlled world where the hero attempts to provide freedom through rock and roll. Sadly, the concert where it was all supposed to happen, the mind-controlled people and the people at the concert just simply vanished into thin air.
And that was never released?
It wasn't released at the time. What did get released, what was salvaged from it, was the Who's next album, the one with Barbara O'Reilly. And that is one of their best albums. I mean, it was, they did some recordings. The idea was that it was going to be a movie with live concert footage. And they did record some concerts, and they did record some studio stuff as well with Al Cooper and Leslie West. So, I mean, there are recordings around of that, which is great. But you can actually see the Who on tour now, if you're lucky enough to be in Canada and Australia, USA rather, between the 13th of July and the 16th of August, you can find them dotted around.
Yeah, that's like their 50th anniversary or something like that tour?
That's right. And then in Vegas for 6 nights, so combine a little bit of a flutter with a night out with the Who, which would be good. All these tour dates can be found on my web page. So I'm not going to read them through. I mean, there are hundreds across all of these things. But that's good news for Who fans. Also good news for Beach Boys fans. Back in 1965, on the 9th of April, Bruce Johnson replaced Glenn Campbell. And for anybody thinking, well, I didn't realise Glenn Campbell was in the Beach Boys, he'd replaced Brian Wilson on tour when Brian famously had a nervous breakdown at the end of 1964. Glenn Campbell was always a temporary replacement because he went off to have his own career, and Bruce Johnson became a fully fledged Beach Boy. The Beach Boys as well, on the 27th of April 1971, were on stage together with the Grateful Dead. That must have been a cool concert to have a look at, because they actually duetted on the Okie from Muskogee, a sort of odd song for the Grateful Dead to be playing, and Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good. It would have been a great show. I mean, they played a couple on their own, I Get Around and Good Vibrations. One of the good nights out at the Fillmore East. Now, what's great for Beach Boys fans is that there are 2 tours on the road most of this year. Mike Love and Bruce Johnson have licensed the name the Beach Boys, and they're touring as the Beach Boys, and you can catch them in America, UK, Ireland, Europe, and then the tour finishes off back in the USA up until the 9th of November. And also on tour till the 13th of October is Brian Wilson and Al Jardine, and they're doing the Pet Sounds 2017 World Tour. So if you're a Beach Boys fan, there's a lot of opportunity to catch these guys. I mean, Brian Wilson also does America, but he's also doing Denmark as well as Europe, Ireland, UK, and Canada. So just about wherever you are, there's a good chance to catch your favourite Beach Boy in action.
And they actually been going longer than the Rolling Stones, right? They're probably the longest standing act right now, the Beach Boys?
They certainly are. Yeah, they started a little bit earlier. I mean, they certainly have been one of the great stayers of the rock and roll world, I think, the Beach Boys. I mean, somebody else who's been going a long time as well is Bob Dylan. He, back in 1961, he just arrived in New York, and on the 11th of April, he played what was essentially his first major gig in Greenwich Village at Gators Folk City. And the band, who played, as Bob Dylan's backing band quite a lot, it was an interesting day for them as well. They gave their first ever concert as the band in 1969 on the 17th of April. That's a bit deceptive because, I mean, they've been together a long time because they were Ronnie Hawkins' backing band, the Hawks, and they recorded with him, Mojo Man, back in 1962. So they've been around a long time, and they famously backed Bob Dylan on his 65-66 electric tour when he had some serious heckling at a concert in the UK.
Really? They didn't like him or something?
Oh, yeah, a lot of the folk purists. It was the time when Bob Dylan moved from being an acoustic artist to electric artist, and a lot of the folk purists, both in America and Europe, took quite a dim view of this.
All they wanted to hear was, "Everybody must get stoned."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But you can catch him now in the UK, USA, and Canada. Up until the 27th of July, he's on the road again. So that's good news.
Does he have a new album or anything, or is he just touring?
No, he has. I can't remember the name of it, but he has just brought a new album out.
It's amazing these guys can still produce stuff.
Oh, it's absolutely unbelievable. And it's a great time for Deep Purple fans. I mean, they've got a lot of things going on. In 1966, 25th of April, Richard Blackmore was playing the band called Neil Christian the Crusaders. And the thing about them was they had a string of really good guitarists. Jimmy Page, Albert Lee, Mick Abrahams, went on to form Jethro Tull. But Deep Purple had their first ever gig on the 20th of April, 68. They were still called Roundabout then. The idea was that Chris Curtis, the Searchers drummer, he thought, well, let's have a band where we have a core of musicians and other, high-profile musicians jump on and off the roundabout. He didn't actually make the final cut, sadly, but the band itself morphed into Deep Purple. Richie Blackmore's final gig came on the 17th of April, 75, with Deep Purple, and he actually, happy birthday, Richie Blackmore, born on the 14th of April, 1945. And they're also on tour at the moment, and great news for Deep Purple fans is there are three ways you can see them. Deep Purple themselves are back. Ian Pace, Roger Glover, and Ian Gillan from the sort of original Deep Purples, as it were. They're still there with a couple of guys called Steve Morse and Don Airey. But they're on tour across Europe, USA, Canada, Scandinavia, and the UK through till the end of the year, 23rd of November. But Richie Blackmore's got his own tours going down. He's touring with Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, and he's got a very short half a dozen gigs in the UK, 17 to 28 of June. And he's also with his band Blackmore's Night, which is much more folky. He's playing some Europe gigs between the 30th of July and the 19th of August. So I think all in all, it's a good time for rock and roll fans.
It is, and I tell you, I would love to go see Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, and it's just too bad Ian Pace, John Lord, I'm sorry, isn't with us any longer, because I'm sure he'd be out there with Deep Purple on their tour.
Oh, I'm sure he would. I mean, he was one of the founding members. He was the first guy that came on board with the roundabout concept, because Chris Curtis, the Searchers were very successful in the British invasion back in '64 to '66. And he was he shared a flat with John Lord for a while.
He was an amazing keyboard player. Ian Gillan did a solo project with Tony Iommi right before John Lord died, and John Lord played on that. Ian Gillan can still sing, and he's got that voice that it's so unique. Just amazing that he still can hit the high notes, and he's still strong. He's got to be 70 plus years old.
He's got to be the other side of 70. Which is amazing when you think, I mean, just about everybody we've talked about are at best in their late 60s, and all these guys are well into their middle 70s. All this information is up on the website. That's www.rockandrollunraveled.com, and I'm very active on the Twittering and the Facebook stuff. So anybody who's into all this sort of stuff, I'm banging all this out on a daily basis and trying to be a little bit obscure and very much looking to what the book's about, which is rock and roll unraveled. Let's have a look at the background to a lot of what's going on.
And are you having any appearances with your book signings coming up?
I had one a couple of weeks ago, and I've got a very major quiz. It's one of the biggest in the UK. Just about every professional quizzer off the UK TV is going to be there, and I'm doing a signing at that, so that should be fun. But what I'm doing, I've got a couple in the pipeline. I've just got to fix the dates up. I try to do one every 4 or 6 weeks.
It's great to have you on, Derek. We'll see you again next month, right?
Oh, yes, I really enjoyed it. It's great chatting to you, mate.
That's Rock and Roll Unraveled with Derek Shelmerdine. We'll be right back, folks.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring you a little bit of a special treat. This past week, I was interviewed by Jonathan Rios on New York at Night on 920 WON The Apple. We discussed the show. We even had Shady and Abu join us. And I thought it would be a nice treat for those of you who didn't get to listen to hear it now.
This is yours truly, Jonathan Rios. I'm your host of today's program, and joining me on the Skype Apple hotline, he is the host of the popular John Lebang program that you can hear every Sunday morning at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. right here on 920 WN The Apple. He is the one and only Mr. John Lebang. John, how you doing?
Jonathan, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. And first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me here tonight. The John Lebang Show continues to grow. It has become the most popular internet radio show so far in the country. Your station affiliate list continues to grow more and more. Tell me the background of the program. When did it start? And how many stations so far has the show accumulated at this time?
Well, it started back in about 2012 when I felt like I was wanting to tell the people about what I was seeing in the world. So I started a YouTube channel, and I just started doing the show on there. And then it began to progress over time. I had some ups and downs, and I finally got hooked up with a local radio station here in Detroit. And about 3 years later now, because that's about how long I've been on that station, we're up to about 30 stations across the country and 17 networks, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. And I can't believe we're moving along so well, and people actually want to give me their ear to listen to what I have to say.
And it's amazing because you say what you have to say. But also the show, it talks about real issues and everything else, but it also has your music. I know you're a musician as well, but what makes this show more entertaining is the fact that you have characters, different kind of characters. Shady, I can name so many. Shady comes to mind, obviously. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he actually wanted to say hi. I'll just let him step in real quick here.
All right, Shady's joining us on the program. How you doing, Shady?
Hey, world, this is Shady, and I'm from Detroit, and I'm telling you what, I'm glad to be on here right now. It's fun. I love the station, and you got to keep listening more and more.
Shady, I mean, you must be happy that, many fans, as you got so many fans that enjoy your appearances on John's show.
Well, I am happy, but that's because I'm drunk half the time, Been drinking all the time. I had about 4 beers before I got on here.
Well, I appreciate it. Oh man, this is fun. This is why it's such a good show. Well, Shady, I do appreciate you enjoying the station, and I thank you for stopping by. I would like to talk to John now.
Yeah, I mean, he is trying to interview me, Shady.
Well, I don't know why he's trying to interview you. I'm the one with the sexy service here. I got the sexy voice and the deep voice, and what do you got? You got long hair.
Like that's a bad thing,
Yeah, well,
Can I jump in, please? Well, Abu wants to say hi as well.
How you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm over here too in Detroit. I appreciate you all out there. Leave me. Okay, it's my time. Everybody, just sit back. Sorry, Jonathan. No, it gets crazy over here.
And that's what makes the show so good. I mean, first of all, and you do. I think everybody knows this. You're very good. You're very versatile with the voices and stuff. Did you come up with that gradually, or did you have that type of talent all your life?
Yeah, it started. I was being a musician and singing. I didn't know I had the talent to do voices. And after a while of doing my show, which was very serious in the beginning, and I'm very lighthearted in real life here, so I started with one of my characters, Stone Logic, and he's kind of a stoner. It's like, hey, man, how you doing, man? How you doing? Smoking a little marijuana, man. And I started with him, and then I got into a few more. And over time, I started doing these radio dramas. And all of a sudden, I've got like 45 different characters, and I didn't know my voice could do women voices and men voices and high-pitched voices. I'm doing voices in the future as well, so I don't know what's going on there.
You bring up radio dramas, and we're talking with John Lebang, the host of the John Lebang Show. You can hear Sunday mornings at 5 a.m. here on the Apple. The radio dramas that you do and produce are so well put together. They are so entertaining and so great to listen to. Obviously, I guess it comes with a lot of writing when it comes to putting all these dramas together. They're a full hour. Sometimes they go up to 2 hours and stuff. How long does it take for you to sit down and put these dramas together?
Well, the most recent one, the Destiny Wars Part 1 and 2 that I did back at the end of the year and the beginning of the year, those took the entire month of December to put together. The concept of the whole Destiny Wars was actually probably the seed of it was put together sometime around October, and I started growing it, and then the dialogue came in right through the Christmas holiday there, and next thing we know, we had 2 epic adventures in one, and we're now working on Part 3 as we speak. We've got a couple chapters already written.
It's very interesting because one of the radio dramas that we played last week twice, we were supposed to play it on Sunday, but we wanted to play it Friday and Saturday night last week, is the Invaders from Alien X. And if people are just new to the show, you have a partnership. You actually do the show on Alien X Radio in Detroit. And you were part of the, I believe it was a... oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. Sort of like a telethon around Christmas time.
Yeah, the Radiothon.
Yeah, the radio.
Yeah, we were raising money for homeless people. It was a Forgotten Harvest, and what they do is they go around to local restaurants and local grocery stores and pick up the unused food and then distribute it to all the food kitchens around the town.
Now, I know they did 36 hours, so how many hours of the shift did you do during that Christmas time? And how often and how many years have you been part of this traditional Christmas celebration? And also, what has been, I think, a tremendous thing that the Vinny and the Alien and everybody at Alien X has done so far every Christmas?
Well, I'm going to answer that.
Shady, I want to answer that.
No, I'm going to answer that. You see, they stick him on the midnight shift there because he sucks so bad. They stick him on there because no one listens at that time anyways. I mean, who's going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning listening to a radiothon and John's on the radio? So, that's why they stick him on there to make, so they can sleep, because those guys work really hard over there. And so they stick John on the radio during the midnight hours because, well, no one's listening anyways.
But it was all for a good cause, and I think a lot of listeners here, you had Shady and John, you guys had your friend Paul Farah, who was also on the program during your shift. I think you guys shared this shift, I think, for like 2 hours. Is that correct? And what was it like to know Paul Farah?
I'm telling you what, he came on the last 2 hours, and he's a maniac. I couldn't get a word in edgewise, and neither could Shady. And Shady, he doesn't stop talking, right?
What do you say? I talk a lot?
Shady, if you had the microphone all day, I wouldn't even have a show.
Well, that's what I told you. You should change the name of the show anyways to Shady Superfly Sexy Show.
Listen, it's the John Lebang Show. Leave me alone. So yeah, Paul, he came on with his buddy, and they took over the entire show, and I couldn't get in a word edgewise. And the dude is hilarious. Paul Farah might be one of the funniest people I've ever heard, and he's on almost every station that I'm on, and it's funny because we're our shows are almost back to back on all these stations, and that man can make you laugh from the first second of the show all the way right until it closes, and then you're wanting more.
Oh man! I mean, when we first picked up his show, we had so much material to cut for promos for his shows. I mean, he is so funny, and he's also a musician as well. Speaking of musicians, when you do a lot of music, when did you start? And what type of music have you performed as of late? And do you have any future music tracks coming out in the near future?
Well, I started back in 1991. I put out my first album called Lebang Gang Sneaking Peeks. And then since then, I put out 7 albums, about 100 songs between all the albums, and all self-produced, no record label. I packaged them real nice, and I made it look like the pros. And I do have what you would call a rock opera in production right now, and that features like 18 songs. It's a superhero vampire rock opera event, and all the songs are. Have you seen the movie Tommy or Pink Floyd The Wall? You've seen those movies, right?
I have not, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, well, those are kind of like rock operas. So it's like this story told with music, and it's based around rock, of course, rock opera, right? Right. So, and that's the concept of this is the whole story is based in the music there, and all the dialogue is within music. I've got like 9 female vocalists, 4 male vocalists. There's a whole band. It's really orchestrated. Hopefully that'll be out by Halloween. I can't promise that because it's just again, we're doing it all on our own here,
right?
And we're not financed by the big we don't have Disney backing us. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
if you were funnier, maybe Disney would back us.
I love Mickey Mouse, I tell you.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
I think you're the only show on 920 WON that covered the election and said your opinions and your views better than anybody. It was one of the most contentious elections we've ever had. I think to the surprise of many people, Donald Trump became president. There's going to be people that don't like him. I'll be man enough to admit it. I'm one of them. And there's other people that do like him. In your view right now, from the elections to now, if you were a teacher giving him a report card, what would be the letter you would give Trump so far in the White House at the moment?
Well, that's a good question. A few weeks ago, I might have given him a B, but after the Syrian event, which I'm not in the popular belief there as everybody else, that I'm not a big mainstream media guy, so what they're telling us is not exactly what my information is telling us. But that's, hey, I would drop them down to maybe a C- right now. And we had the big bomb, MOAG bomb, or whatever they call it, the 21,000 pound bomb that blew out a mile or 3 square mile area or something that in Afghanistan.
Right.
Again, that's fine and dandy. To me, it's like showing, it's like flexing his muscle to Kim Jong-il or Un or whatever the little potbelly dictator is over there in North Korea. So it's C-, and it keeps going down because one of his campaign promises was the Obamacare thing to repeal it and replace it. Well, that was a failure. Another campaign promise was he was supposed to get along with Russia and stay out of Syria. Well, we're not there. So for a person who was anti-Hillary more than I was pro Donald Trump, I'm seeing the agenda continue on, and that's the thing that's bothering me because he was supposed to be the anti-agenda candidate.
Do you think because he changes his mind, and it seems like he does it every 5 minutes, that he's inconsistent, that he's always flip-flopping? Do you think that's what's hurting him at the moment, of why he has a low approval rating, while people are not sure how they feel about the Syria thing, and I bet you they're not even sure about the Afghanistan bombing that occurred yesterday? Do you think that's what you think those are also possibly the reasons why the numbers say he's kind of hurting himself as the president at the moment?
I actually think the Syrian thing and the recent attack in Afghanistan were to boost his ratings, which you can see that his approval's gone up since that. So I think it was a little bit of wag the dog. He was steadily declining in his approval rating, and mind you, it wasn't with his core supporters until recently. His core supporters were still behind him until recently. So I think it was a bit of a wag the dog, and he's up to 48%. What was it 2 weeks ago? It was like 37%.
37.
So, that's what happened. It was the same with George Bush and we'll even put in Barack Obama when Obama took out Osama bin Laden, or when George Bush went in and hit Afghanistan right away. All their approval ratings went up because America doesn't like to be messed with. And they like a strong a leader, supposedly, and this is in the American eyes. I guess this is something that needed to be done. I see it differently. I'll save that for my show because we have plenty of that coming up on the show this week. So, but I think he has now hurt his core more than he's actually gained popularity. Here's the thing. John McCain, Lindsey Graham, the whole mainstream media was completely against him for the past 8, 10, 12 weeks. All of a sudden, now they're all chanting and supporting him. That tells you a lot about how his actions have turned the people who are against him now on his side.
Yeah, but the thing here that I look at, and I think there was so many things that he said that just did not come out right. And I think that's also one of the reasons why and I don't watch mainstream stuff, I'll be honest with you. I don't watch news. It's just way too depressing. But a lot of the things he said really rubbed most of this country the wrong way. And what I find interesting, you make a good point, because he did the bombing in Syria, that everybody now is starting to look the other way, because for the first time in so many years, somebody in the U.S., the president, is finally doing something about Syria. But you kind of wonder, was this technically the right time to do the bombing? Now, my question to you is, with the Syria issue and the Russian issue, North Korea now is starting to become more of a bigger story. And my question to you is this a surprise to anybody? And is Trump the right man in office to deal with the North Koreans?
What I think is happening is that he got rid of Bannon. He got rid of the other guy, Flynn or whatever his name is, a while back. And those were the guys that were probably more keeping him calm on these countries. But now it looks like with those guys gone, the old order is now pushing him towards this stuff. Now, is he the right leader? If you need a tough leader that's not going to put up with anything, then probably he's a decent leader if you believe in those terms of things. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want a leader of peace, we thought that's what we were going to get. The people who voted for Trump, anyways, that we thought, because it was Hillary chiming in that Putin was Hitler and she was trying to pick the fights. So when Donald Trump switches sides like he did in the last week on that issue, maybe he's just following along. Is he the right leader for the time? I don't know. History is a funny thing, and what's going on now is very reminiscent of what happened in World War I or prior to World War I, and that war was really a war over nothing. And I'm really worried that we're heading in the same direction. And he's the modern equivalent to Woodrow Wilson. He was the anti-war candidate before the election, and now, because of whatever reason, he's the pro-war candidate. Now, he did talk about building the military, and it probably feels pretty good to launch off a big giant bomb like he did today, and to watch that and go, wow, we got some pretty powerful weapons there, But outside of maybe trying to scare North Korea, what did that really do? Should we be done with this war on terror?
I agree. It seems like we've been in this for so many years. And, as a New Yorker, this all technically started with the 9/11. It probably started years before. But I do agree. I think we've been in war too much. I think this country is war weary. I think a lot of people in this country are worried about the situation in Syria, the situation in Afghanistan, Iraq, and most likely possibly North Korea. I don't think anybody wants a war. Final two questions before I let you go. With Donald Trump in office, and it seems like the divide is still stuck in this country. Do you see the divide ever disappearing sooner rather than later, or do you think this will continue, especially since Trump is in office? Do you think that will continue throughout his presidency, the divide in this country?
Well, the divide is a funny thing because a lot of the D's didn't like him because he was an R. Right. And if we're going to break it down into just that, no, we're never going to get a common ground on that issue. But he, because of his shift, we'll say, to a more centrist position, he may gain support from even people within his party, because there was a little civil war going inside the Republican Party for the heart of the party, and it looks like if he continues this way that it's the neocons that won that little battle versus the Tea Partiers, for lack of better terms.
We're talking with John Lebang here. One final question about your show. You've got so many affiliates here, and you do a good job of production. But let's say, for example, you wanted to improve in one area of the show. What would it be? What would be that one area you would like to improve on for the show?
That's a good question, because I think I have a lot of areas to improve. I try to be very humble, and as you know, I was picked up by the pretty big radio network recently, and I don't even know if I'm worthy to be there, but I am. And so I want to improve in all aspects, but maybe the biggest thing is to let more people know about me as far as getting out there and promoting myself, because that may be my biggest failing. Is I'm so busy doing the show and running the scripts and with the characters and everything that I just can't get out there enough to tell 20, 30,000 people a week that the John LeBang show's on 920 WON. I just can't. It's hard as heck.
Now,
anything else, it's probably just doing better with my vocabulary, getting stronger with my presentation, because even though I seem very comfortable at this, there are days where doing radio can be very difficult. You got to, some days before you come on the radio, people have ruined your day, and you got to somehow channel that energy, because the show must go on.
I agree.
And put out a good product, and you can't let it affect you in a negative way. I'm really good about channeling that energy and just letting it fire out, and people better duck then. But I just, in a way, it's therapy. This radio thing has really been therapy for me. And when I get, the emails from people who, listen to my show, a lot of times it's therapy for them, because I express rage that they can't express, I guess. And I guess that's about it.
Internet radio, obviously you talk about mainstream AM and FM. Are you more comfortable? You're comfortable with internet radio, but in the future, do you ever see yourself being one of those talk show hosts on AM and FM and being able to express yourself, or is internet radio, that's it? That's your most comfortable platform? I know a lot of people like internet radio, but some also have aspirations that they want to get into AM and FM. What's your position? You comfortable more on internet radio, or do you hope to end up one of these days on AM and FM?
Let's just say this. Some of my idols are Michael Savage, William Cooper, and those people. They're on AM radio. They're AM talk. I do a different show than they do,
right?
But that's what they do, and that's really where the payout is in actual terrestrial radio. I've been considered a shock jock, so shock jocks usually fall into that satellite, Sirius radio, and internet radio area. I'm cutting back on the I don't want to say profanity, because I wasn't really that, I didn't really swear a whole lot.
Right.
But I've cut back on that. I try to be calm and not get too crazy. So terrestrial radio would be great. I think that's where I'm going to finally end up, probably more like on an AM over an FM. But I had no idea I'd be picked up by this station or that station, so I'm going wherever the waves take me, and I'm just following the current. And as long as it doesn't capsize me and turn me into the Titanic, I guess I'm doing good.
You're doing a tremendous job, and I wish you all the best. If you and Shady and everybody's still in the studio there, you have anything to plug, go ahead and say it. Before you do that, I want to tell everybody, go on John LeBang's website, jlebang.com. You'll be able to hear archives of the show, see some YouTube videos, and see anything that's coming in the future. You have anything coming in the very near future that you or your crew want to plug in right now?
We don't have an actual release date, but Destiny Wars Part 3, that's a continuation of the Destiny Wars saga, will be released soon, hopefully this summer, but we don't want to push it. We pushed the last two, and we're trying to make this one really good because the story's getting huge. So that's probably the biggest thing on the horizon for us. We're hoping to do some stand-up John LeBang show around the around the area here. We're going to actually take it live and do a stand-up version of this year. We're working on that script as well, so that should be fun. John, you should tell them about your Twitter. Well, okay, you can go to Twitter, follow us on Twitter at John LeBang. Don't make Shady angry, because he'll start throwing things at me.
Oh man!
And they must go to your Facebook page and like the John LeBang Show on the Facebook page, right? Yes, Abu. Thank you for that too. So they're doing all the promo for me. I wish when I need that promo during the week, these guys don't want to do anything to help me. They're out. Shady's out drinking beer. Well, what else do you want me to do? And Abu's out back singing because he loves to sing. Can I sing one now? No, we don't want to sing one now, Abu. Save it for the show.
Oh, man. This was a lot of fun, John. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, you taking the time out of your busy schedule. It's the John LeBang Show, heard all over the country, but most importantly, heard right here on 920W on the Apple, Sunday mornings from 5 a.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern. John, an honor, sir. Thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you again soon down the road, okay, my friend?
Thank you so much.
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to thank Jonathan Rios. He's over there at 920 WN The Apple in New York. His show is New York at Night.
Hey, John, you ready for me yet?
Yeah, come on in, Shady.
This was a really cool show tonight.
Well, thanks a lot, Shady. I appreciate that.
That rock and roll guy really knows his stuff.
So you ready to do Cool or Uncool?
Well, just give me the intro, John.
All right. This hour's Cool or Uncool is
New segments and less John.
New segments and less John.
That's right. Pretty soon it's going to be my show, so the more we dwindle you down, the better.
It's never going to be your show, Shady.
We'll see about that, John. Now will you go to the phones? There's people calling in.
Our first call comes from jolly old England. Henry, what say you?
I love the new segment. Keep up the good work.
Okay, thanks for your call.
You know, that guy only calls in when you talk about something from England.
Yeah, but what did we talk about that was English?
Well, you had that guy on the radio. He's English, and you were talking about the Who, the British invasion. Get your head out of your butt, John.
Are you cranky tonight?
Well, maybe a little.
How come you're cranky?
Just thinking of my nephew jumping in the sea.
What?
Never mind, John. Let's move on.
Up next, we've got Pepper from Chicago. Cool or Uncool?
I likes the rap music. It make me shake my booties.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Well, we don't like rap music, and we sure as heck don't want you shaking your booty. We don't need an earthquake happening.
Now over to Austin, Texas. AJ, what say you?
I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to punch this guy in the throat. I'm thinking, how hard am I going to punch him? All right, that guy's taking his helmet off. I'm going to punch him in the throat the minute he tries to get up and do something. And then I'm going to assault those next three guys. Then they'll probably pull a weapon. I need to take that. I mean, that's what I'm thinking whenever something like that's going on. I can't help it.
Thanks for your call.
Looks like he's acting again.
Now over to Abu. What say you?
I love the new segment. It is very fun. I love the rock and roll.
Do you have a song for us tonight, Abu?
Yes, I do.
John, please,
Let
no
me
songs
sing it.
this hour.
1,
I still
2,
haven't
3,
recovered from
4.
the last one.
Johnny's in the basement, thinking of the medicine I'm on the pavement. Thinking about the government chasing me on my camel every day. Got to get away, yes.
Okay, thanks for your call.
What the hell song was he singing there?
I think he was trying to sing a Bob Dylan song.
Oh.
Sanctuary City. Cool or Uncool?
I'm the man with the silver camel.
Oh, God, he doesn't even want us anymore.
I'm the man with the silver camel. Yes.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Between the tuna fish and that guy, I think I'm done. I'll see you later, John. Bye.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another week of sonic vibrations known as
The John LeBang Show.
I'd like to thank my guest this second hour, Derek Shelmerdine. I really hope you enjoyed the new monthly segment. You can look him up at rockandrollunraveled.com. And don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Like to thank all the affiliate stations and, of course, you, the listener, for spending time listening to this show. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John LeBang signing off from the Banger Studios.
We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.
Any luck, Leroy?
I don't know, Uncle Shady. What do you think of this girl?
Leroy, are you crazy? Look at her name. Right there, you know you're in big trouble. And look at her. She's got things coming out of her nose and her hair and her eyes. She's one of those women that shaves off her eyebrows and then draws them back in. You don't want one of those. She looks like she used to be 500 pounds, too. She shouldn't be on this side anyways.
Well, what do you mean, Uncle Shady?
Well, she's more of a cow or a pig, not a whale.
I don't understand, Uncle Shady.
Well, look at the bull ring hanging out of her nose. She's got some kind of branding on her chest. You don't want that, Leroy. She doesn't respect herself. There's no way she's gonna respect you. After seeing that, I need another beer. I'll be back, Leroy.